What the fuck are they doing with Rusev? I've this is absolutely idiotic and weird in so many ways that I can't even begin to explain. But I will anyways. I will try to because this is a no-brainer. The reason why it's hard for me to explain is because it's right there. It's right there in front of you. So, I got to see Raw. Actually, I've been seeing this for a long time now, for past few months. Actually, maybe even almost a year, not so much. I've been seeing this more and more in Rusev, and that is that he's probably the best heel on Raw. I wouldn't say the entire WWE because that goes for AJ Styles. I think AJ Styles is the best heel in the entire company. The thing is with Rusev though, and I used to think, okay, maybe it's Kevin Owens, maybe it's Jericho, but then after Kevin Owens won the Universal title, that's when I started to say, no, he's not the best heel, because usually when you become a world champion or a champion of any kind, you have to put over the contender to bring him up to your level, and then when you beat him, it's not in a sense of him losing and then him looking like a schlub, but that if it was any other day, he could have beaten you. There are some exceptions, I will say that, but at the same time, it should be like 90% of the time, the champion has to put over the contender. You know, I said it before, you know, when I made the video about Kevin Owens being the worst world champion of all time. You can go back and check that. And I did bring up the examples of Bret Hart and Ric Flair, but that's not what it's about. This is not what the video is about. This is about Rusev. And when he had the U.S. title, actually, the U.S. Championship has been the most important championship on Raw for many, many months because of Rusev. Rusev helped, and some people might say it's John Cena. John Cena is the reason because, you know, the Open Challenge and all of that. That's the reason why the title was brought back to prominence. It has prestige again. Okay, that's fair, but I would go even further than that. Dean Ambrose didn't defend the title for a year, and then he, you remember that? He said, like, oh, it's too much paperwork and stuff like that. And it's weird because isn't every championship has like a 1 month, title clause. If you don't defend it, then you're stripped from the championship. Many people, were stripped from that title. Daniel Bryan, Shawn Michaels. Anyways, then Sheamus won it. He had really, really good matches with Cesaro, if you remember that. I can go back and watch Payback 2014 and Night of Champions. They had an amazing, amazing match. So Sheamus was trying his best, but it wasn't enough because I don't think he only had great matches with Cesaro. Anybody else going up against him wasn't that good. It was like he had matches against if I remember correctly, I think he had matches with Damien Sandow and The Miz and stuff like that, and just it wasn't that good. But when Rusev won it it was a great match on the Raw Backstage Pass, Backstage Fallout or something like that was called. Still called. It's still on the WWE Network. And he won the championship. That elevated the title because now you have a story. And him beating guys like Mark Henry and The Big Show, granted they weren't great matches, but they were star-making matches because he was going up the ladder. And him beating guys like, Jack Swagger when Jack Swagger was hot. Remember, the We the People thing was really hot. The fans were really behind him. They were jumping out of their seats. And then he was put in that Survivor Series, and then after that he beat, beat multiple people, and he was really like, okay, this is our next big thing. But then he faced John Cena. And John Cena beat him like, at first he beat John Cena, then, Cena beat him at WrestleMania, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with, the hero getting the win at the end. But that could have been it. You could have, given back the championship to Rusev. Now, granted, we wouldn't have had those great matches with Kevin Owens, but I think they still would have had great matches with Kevin Owens. It didn't need the U.S. title. They were great matches on their own. Because if I recall, the Elimination Chamber match, the one with Kevin Owens winning, it wasn't for the U.S. title. So it didn't need the U.S. title, if you think about it. Then Rusev started to flounder around the mid-card division. He was directionless. And then in 2016, which is this year, it's almost done. I believe it was this year. Yeah, he beat Kalisto. And Kalisto had these few really, I thought they were really good matches with Alberto Del Rio. And Alberto Del Rio, of course, won the title from Cena in amazing fashion. And Kalisto had really good matches with Alberto Del Rio. That's what I think that. Yeah, there were good matches. There were some that were botch-filled, but I think Alberto Del Rio held his own pretty well, and Kalisto was made into a big star because of that. Then we had Rusev beat Kalisto, which I was fine with. Like, I didn't pick Rusev, but when he won it, I was like, you know what? He deserves it. Whatever. At least he's got something. And the U.S. title always was the championship that would, elevate him. So why not let it be the title that rejuvenates him? Okay. And he's been rejuvenated with that U.S. title. He had matches with, with Zack Ryder. He had matches with Kalisto. And then, he finally got to face, he finally got to face Roman Reigns. And I was like, okay, Roman Reigns winning the U.S. title, that's fine. It keeps him away from the main event. That's cool. We'll give him the U.S. title. That's cool. Now, what do you do with Rusev? I was thinking, okay, you have this feud with Roman, and then Hell in a Cell, Roman, retains, and then you take Rusev away for a while because it's a Hell in a Cell match. Usually, the loser of the Hell in a Cell match, we don't see a sign of him for months or weeks. Maybe like you take him off TV for a week or two. But what happens? He gets in the ring the next night like nothing happened. No taped up ribs, nothing. And gets destroyed by Goldberg. And then I was like, okay, fine. He was in the ring with a returning big name. And it was a big segment, a very important main event segment. And Rusev was a part of it. Win, lose, or draw, he wins. Because he is in a memorable segment. The next week, they don't even show it. They don't even show Goldberg jackhammering and, Rusev and hitting him with the knees. Because the past episode of Raw, no sign of that. Just Goldberg spearing Paul Heyman, that's it. They don't show him jackhammering Rusev. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. Some people remember it, but then again, the casual eye maybe won't see that, so it doesn't take away from Rusev a lot. Okay, fine. Then they announce that at Survivor Series, it's going to be Sami Zayn against Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship, for the Open Challenge. And then they say, okay, no, we're going to have Rusev against Sami Zayn, the winner, face the Intercontinental Champion. And my pick, if you remember, and I'm glad that I didn't put money on it, I wouldn't even put, a lot of money on it. But still, the satisfaction of winning is just enough for me. I really hate losing. Um, so what happens is, um, Rusev faces Sami Zayn. I'm like, okay, now we're gonna have Rusev win. Let him win, and let him face Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title because they're gonna have a kick-ass match at Survivor Series. This is a Survivor Series, you know, and you're trying to put over Dolph Ziggler, and of course, let Rusev face him. Let Dolph Ziggler win. That's fine, but at least Rusev has something to do. Okay. What happened? Sami Zayn beats him. Now, granted, it was a good match, but I think Rusev would have benefited from something like that, being in that stage. So I was like, okay, Rusev doesn't get the Intercontinental title, doesn't get that Intercontinental title spot at Survivor Series. What do you do with him? I was thinking, okay, why not put him in Team Raw? And then they announced Rollins is going to be part of it. And so there is no spot for Rusev anywhere in Survivor Series. The tag team division is full. The singles division, the 5-on-5 match is full. What is left for him? Well, I was thinking this, and this is a very, very important thing for the WWE, because I think the WWE need to cater to the world, because that's one of its initials. This is not American Wrestling Entertainment. This is World Wrestling Entertainment. So, what do? You cater to the world. Now, they had Raw in Glasgow. That's a great step. That's a very big step. Because usually, they would have it in Canada, they would have it in London, and the rest would be in all around the States. They had it in Glasgow, the last episode of Raw. So what do you do to cater to the world? You have house shows, big deal. I was thinking, take out Rusev for a while. Let him rest up. Let him go out with Lana. Let them have a fun, time off. Bring him back around Royal Rumble time as, an entrant in the Royal Rumble, of course, because that's a spot that, of course, you got to have Rusev in. Then let Rusev have a good showing at the Royal Rumble. Let him come out in a whirlwind of fire. Let him just, take out people, be a strong, Bulgarian. Let him take out everybody in the ring, throw some schlubs out, and, let him be a strong athlete that he is. Then you bring him out on Raw the next night, and you bring him out as a babyface. Not really as a babyface, but a guy that is no nonsense. He has no room for funny business. So you bring out Titus O'Neil, and he's just doing some stupid stuff. Rusev comes out and destroys him. Kind of like what Ron Simmons is. Whenever there's a stupid segment, he comes out and goes damn, and that's it. You put over Rusev that way. The next week you bring out the Shining Stars and saying to everybody, oh, come on, you come to the Caribbean, whatever. And then he comes out, destroys them both. So he's going to be like this no-nonsense guy and just beating people up. And then in February, because I read this up, in February 22nd, I think it's February 22nd. All the way till, I think, February 28th or 30th. So that's almost a week. In Germany. they have house shows in Germany. The reason why house shows aren't as important as they used to be is because there are no important matches in house shows. People are like, why do I have to go to this house show if I'm going to see that exact same match on the WWE Network? Because that's a problem with the WWE Network. It's a double-edged sword. Sure, it gets a lot of money for the WWE, but at the same time, it's taking a lot more out of WWE business. You see, the house shows, the problem with the house shows is that you see those matches on Raw and on SmackDown and on pay-per-views. You see them over and over and over and over again. And then you see them in the house shows. You're like, why do I have to even go? It's not even a big set. It's not important. It's not going to play out. There's no reason for it. That's the reason why house show numbers are going down. And besides that, we don't have important characters. We don't have those larger-than-life characters that you want to see more of. Yeah, I want to watch wrestling. More. There's wrestling every corner you look at. Every way you look, there is wrestling. You know, you're surrounded by wrestling. It's not like what it used to be. You see, the reason why there was a boom in the 90s is because there were only 3 promotions. There was ECW, there was WWF, and there was WCW. New Japan and all that sort of stuff, it's hard to get. Same with ECW. Most of those shows were hard to get access of. Most of them were closed circuit. And remember, when you go to VHS stores and you're like, can I get, stuff from ECW? It's like, yeah, okay. And you're like, is this from this week? No, it's from 3 months ago. Or New Japan, oh, it's from 2 years ago. You can't even get new stuff. So that's the reason why there was a boom, is because they were very hard to access to. Now, you can turn on Twitter and you can see clips of those house shows. You can see clips of the pay-per-views. You can see, easy access is what's killing the business. That's what it is. So, what do you do with those house shows? Why? What can you do to bring in people? Well, easy. Put something up. Put something up on the line during those house shows. Now, you remember in the early 90s, there were tag team defenses and tag team title changes. There were intercontinental title changes. There were world heavyweight title changes. You remember Bret Hart winning the title in, I believe it was, it was Saskatoon. I can't remember where it was. I think it was Saskatoon. Or was it Bakersfield? Somewhere around there. He beat Ric Flair for the title in the house show. Kevin Nash, Diesel, beat Bob Backlund in the house show. Thing is, you got to make house shows important for people to come. If they don't come, house shows are going to be, there's no point of having house shows if that's the case, if you're going to not have something important in them. So, what do? Put something on the line. You don't have to put like the WWE title or the Intercontinental title or whatever. You don't have to put those championships. Put something up that's exclusive for house shows. Germany, okay? February 22nd, 2017. What do? Bring back the European Championship. Make a tournament from 22nd to the 28th. It'd be a full week of a tournament that goes around Germany. And I think it ends in Ireland. And let the title to be defended in Ireland. And let everywhere they go in house shows, let Rusev defend that European Championship. And every time he doesn't show, don't show him up on Raw every single week. No. Put promo packages and say that Rusev has been defending his European title. He successfully defended his European title in Germany. He defended his European title successfully in Glasgow, in Dublin, in London, in, Manchester, wherever. And that's the reason why you're not going to see Rusev. It's because he's on those house shows. If you want to see Rusev, you got to pay your ticket. You got to buy your ticket in, your in Ticketmaster or whatever, and go ahead and see him, where he's going around Europe defending that European Championship. Then you bring him back at WrestleMania, put him in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. If you want to have him win, that would be awesome, because it would bring back prestige to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy. Because for the past 2 years, it didn't mean much. But when Cesaro won it, it felt like something. It felt like it elevated him. They mishandled him after that, but you got to remember that was his peak. That moment when he won it and he held up that trophy, that was his peak. So you do that with Rusev. Let it be important. Then, have a few shows overseas. Let Extreme Rules be in London. Let Payback be in somewhere else. Let it be in I don't know, let it be in Wales or something like that. Those are your small shows, and they're in the WWE Network. It's not like you're trying to cater to your pay-per-view provider. You're trying to kill your pay-per-view business, remember? So what you do is, fuck it, have it anywhere. Have a show, have a pay-per-view in Tokyo. Now, of course, the European title doesn't matter in there because it's in Tokyo. It's in Asia. You're not going to defend it there. But that's what I'm saying. Those pay-per-views need to have a little bit more variety. Part of the pun. But that's what they need. They don't have to stay in the States all the time. Oh, we're going to have this in Boston. We're going to have this and that. Well, you're not selling out those shows. Let it be more important. That's another reason why not many people are showing up to your shows. Is because they're like, I'm not going to see it this week. I'm going to see it in the next few months, because they're going to come back. Of course they're going to come back. There are 8 shows in my in my city every year. So if I'm not going to watch it this time, if I'm not going to show up this time, I'm going to show up the next time. It's going to be in the next 6 months. Who cares? That's what it is. Now, what do you do? What do you do next with Rusev? He's got the European Championship, right? Let him drop it then around SummerSlam. Now that he's built up the prestige of the European Championship, let him drop it. Then what do? Night of Champions. Or Clash of Champions. That's what it's called. Clash of Champions, you have to have it in some European country. Because you got to have all the titles on the line, right? Put the European Championship up for grabs in... It doesn't matter where. You can have it anywhere in Europe. Have it in Holland, You can have it in Holland. You can have it in... trying to think of, Belgium. You can have it in any of those countries, any of those big countries. Even in Germany, I think, where it all started. Have it in Germany or whatever. And on that night, have the finals of a tournament. And another tournament, yeah, I'm bringing this up. Now, trying to think, Clash of Champions is on September 2017. So from August, I believe in July, there is going to be the European League, okay, in soccer. You know what soccer is, right? Football. The real football, not American football. That's a real football, where you actually use your feet. Okay, that's another story. Soccer, football. It's soccer and football. It's the most watched sport in the world. Most games, the biggest game would get over hundreds of millions of, of watchers, of viewers, especially in those big, in those big tournaments. So what do? Capitalize on them. Have important figures from soccer on these shows. Ibrahimovic, and Wayne Rooney, and all these guys that are really important in the football world. Bring them on in, and let them be in attendance, and guaranteed you'll get more ratings out of it. And not just that. The tournament that I'm talking about, let it be a round robin tournament. Does that sound familiar? G1 Climax. Because G1 Climax is usually around August, July, August. And right after that, you have your own G1 Climax in the house shows. Let the house shows be in Japan or whatever, just to add more flavor to it. And then have the finals at Clash of Champions. Or have like the final 3 matches at Clash of Champions, with the winner getting this beautiful, beautiful trophy. And whoever wins gets to challenge for the European Championship in a later date. Now, you've created a lead-in to your title. You know how the world title has a lead-in, like the Royal Rumble? It's a lead-in to the championship. Got Money in the Bank, which is a lead-in to the world title. Now you have a lead-in to your European Championship. So now this title means more. And you can do that with other titles, like the Intercontinental title or the US title. You can do that with those in, like whoever wins King of the Ring challenges for the Intercontinental title. And he does say, the Intercontinental title was always a stepping stone for greater things, even though this title means the world. Which it is, the Intercontinental title. What is the Intercontinental? It's the world. Basically the entire globe. So, now you got the European Championship and you got to lead into it. And you have Rusev win that European Championship. Now he's still young. That's the most beautiful thing about it. He's still young. He's 31 right now. So by 2017, he's going to be I think 32, 33. Okay? And he's still got a long career ahead of him because he doesn't wrestle in a dangerous style. He's not the kind of guy that takes a lot of risks. And he is the kind of guy that I do see him being a champion one day, a world champion, sooner rather than later. And would be a travesty if he doesn't. He is what Kevin Owens should be. If anything, I think he's even better than Kevin Owens because he can take more out of so little. So, I think, Rusev being the focal point of the European division, because you have a lot of European wrestlers. You got Cesaro, you got Adrian Neville, you got Finn Balor, you got so many other wrestlers, Jack Gallagher, I'm trying to think of Noam Dar, all those guys that I think are, can be an asset to the European division. And not just that, not just European wrestlers. You can still have guys like, Sami Zayn and, Kevin Owens. All those guys that can, carry that European Championship. You just got to cater to the right audience. You need to. This is what WWE needs to do. They need to cater to the world, and not just to the United States. So that's basically it. That's exactly what I would do with Rusev. And I have a long booking idea for Rusev that I wrote down just for fun. It's not. I don't think it's that important because we all know that Rusev can be a main event player. It doesn't matter how he gets there as long as he does. But I think a European style, a European title and a European division type thing, I think would be awesome, especially for the house shows. It would definitely bring up those house show numbers because that's what's missing in WWE. They're making great business in everywhere except for wrestling. They're crossing over everywhere, but it's like they're crossing over. Each time they're crossing over, they're losing a little bit of their identity. Which is really saddening. But that's basically it. Anyways, I rambled on long enough, and rate, comment, favorite, how, please subscribe, and until then, stay tuned, where I'll be talking about something.